Good evening. I'm Jody Ann Quarry. Tonight, what does it mean to secure Jamaica? And not just to promote it, not just to sell it, but to protect it. We begin with tourism, a sector worth more than $4 billion a year, now under pressure from competition, global shifts, and events that pose hard questions about safety. Then, schools or shelters. Serious allegations raised about children in school-based shelters, and the government deadline now set to move people out. And later, the Reggae Girlz win again. But where was the crowd? Where is the support? And what does that say about the value of these athletes? I'm Jody Ann Quarry, and this is Lead Story. We begin this lead story with tourism and competition and demand. Jamaica earned more than $4 billion from tourism last year. Millions of visitors, a critical engine of foreign exchange. But tonight, the question is not whether tourism is working. The question is whether it's secure. Secure in a world where the Caribbean is expanding with more than 34 million visitors across the region. Secure in a market where the Dominican Republic continues to scale, and secure in a moment where the global instability may shift travel flows, but only to destinations that are ready. Joining me now is Dr. Kerry Wallace, Executive Director of the Tourism Enhancement Fund. Dr. Wallace, welcome.
Thank you for having me, and good evening, listeners. Good afternoon.
I really appreciate you joining us today, because what a product it is that we have, and enhancing that product is certainly something that you are responsible with your team for, enhancing it, preparing it, and securing, we'll broadly call that product. So when we say we want to secure the tourism product, what exactly are we securing? Arrivals, reputation, or revenue when you do your work?
So as you can imagine, tourism being Jamaica's #1 industry means that in order to create a good quality of life for our people, we have to continue on a path of growth for the tourism sector, not just in arrivals and earnings, but also the flow through of the tourism dollar, meaning our linkages, to make sure that what tourism consumes is supplied more and more by our local producers, suppliers, service providers, events, festivities, all that they consume. We are the ones supplying it, so that the tourism dollar spreads into the local economies. And so our team here at the Tourism Enhancement Fund, every day, that's what we are working on, whether it is to enhance the destination, make it more attractive, whether it's from an infrastructure standpoint, access to our attractions, no matter how far inland they are, we try and provide, rehabilitate roadways and access to those wonderful attractions that we happen to be blessed with as a country. But we also facilitate the development of our cultural assets, especially making the bridge between those powerful gems and the tourism sector. So we also invest a lot in our human capital development to ensure that our people are trained and upskilled and can provide the most outstanding service. You mentioned the competition in the Caribbean. We believe that as a people, naturally, we have a better reputation, a better brand, a better vibe, a better energy. And so as we add the polishing to that, the skills development, the professionalism to that, we believe we can provide a quality of experience that's like no other. And in fact, we have seen the results of that. We have the highest repeat rate in the entire Caribbean. And so that's demonstrative of us doing doing very well where that's concerned. Once a visitor comes here, they have to come back.
And I think that's so good, because you hear stories of people who will say, I came to Jamaica once, I come back 20 times. I bring my family, I bring my friends. They see this as then part of their traditions wherever they're from. But Jamaicans on the ground here hear the Tourism Enhancement Fund, and they often think of you as a beautification scheme. And they hear TEF putting up flowers, working on trees, working on the beautification of various sections of the country. Unfortunately, though, they see this for the tourists and not for locals. They feel that this is something for the foreigners, not necessarily for the benefit of those of us who have to look at these things every single day. How do you ensure that these TEF projects that are there, not only to allow for persons to come back and repeat visitors as we compete, be things that locals can also see the benefits of as well?
No, I agree with you that it has been quite a disconnect in terms of how many locals view tourism as their responsibility and something that will benefit them directly. I think it's helping that we have democratized a lot of the benefits of tourism. Airbnbs and so on are opening up to so many more locals the opportunity to earn from the accommodation sector in tourism. And as that kind of EP model of tourism and experiential model of tourism grows, it also grows the other components of the outside experience, meaning...
Hold on, what is that experiential model? Is it people wanting to go to Trench Town? Is it people wanting to see local life, going to markets, be part of local culture in a way that perhaps more fenced off tourist resorts might not have allowed them to experience in the past?
Certainly. I mean, the idea of the experiential traveler is that they are enriching their lives by exposing themselves to the sights, sounds, smells, tastes, and culture of that new destination. You really would have enriched your life rather than being limited to your life experience, like your life experience being only in the where you've come from. When you travel, you are opening up your horizons. You're opening up to a whole different people, different culture, different music, different, and I think a lot of the people on this planet that travel the world, that they really travel to enrich themselves with that experience. I think we have been focus on the all-inclusive model, because whereas it provides a great experience, I'm not trying to knock it, I just believe that there's an opening and an opportunity for more of the experiential model of tourism to grow in Jamaica, and thankfully it has been growing, and that translates into even events like our carnival that just happened, for instance. When we looked at the numbers, we haven't checked this year's numbers, but based on last year's numbers, over 60% are visitors who've come out and patronize the road marches and so on. So it shows that all those promoters, all the beverage companies, all those would have benefited from visitors coming in to have that experience, whether it's Carnival, whether it's the Blue Mountain Coffee Festival, whether it's the Lost in Time Festival, Sumfest, all these things that create a wonderful, memorable experience for persons to the point where they would pick up and pay their money and get on a plane and come over here and stay in an accommodation and to have that experience. That's what makes tourism contribute to our local economy.
It makes it contribute to our local economy, but let's look at global shifts, because the tourism minister has said, hey, we're looking at geopolitics, and we see there could be some potential persons wanting to go to other markets now instead choosing the Caribbean, and out of the Caribbean choosing Jamaica. Help me understand, what's Jamaica's clearest competitive advantage right now that has them look at Jamaica and say, let me pick you versus the Dominican Republic or some other Caribbean island?
Well, I think the good thing is that so many of our superstars have made our brand just internationally well known. Starting from Marcus to Bob to Chris Gale to Usain Bolt to Shelley Free. I mean, we've just as a people, exposed the entire world to just how awesome we are as a people, and I think that helps a lot. Everyone recognizes the name Jamaica once you say to them, no matter where they are. And I think that helps. And I think our Jamaica Tourist Board and our team has done quite a good job in showcasing how beautiful an island we have. In fact, that's part of the blessing we have and a sustainable competitive advantage.
That we have sand, sea, and sun, like every other Caribbean island has sand, sea, and sun, but we have celebrities here as well. Is that what you're saying?
Well, we have more than just sand, sea, and sun. I mean, our Dungeon River, for instance, is the number one attraction in the entire Caribbean. I mean, our mineral spas, blue holes, and so on. It's not necessarily the most common thing. I mean, Grand Cayman doesn't even have one mountain. Turks doesn't even have one mountain. No rivers, no waterfalls. I mean, St. Lucia is relatively pretty as well, but we are much larger as a country, so we have much more diversity of assets. I'll give you one. I mean, we're the seventh largest harbor in the whole world. We have the one of the best Blue Mountain coffees in the whole world. We have some of the best rums in the whole world. We have the strongest ginger in the whole world. There's so much advantage that we have. Not to mention our culture, our music, our reggae, how impact it has had on our planet, and it's associated with leisure feelings when one hears and listens to reggae music anywhere they are. They have it definitely lowers their blood pressure.
So there's a vibe that comes with it. There are the mountains, the rivers, the streams, the entertainment offerings that we have that allow us to be a destination of choice. But are we in a position right now to actively pick up this displacement with global geopolitics? Is it just that we hope they'll come to us because of these things, or are we actively working and campaigning to have them come to us to secure the product?
Very active. The minister himself was in Washington just for over 5 days. Just came back yesterday. So himself, the Jamaica Tourist Board, they've been actively campaigning, providing that opportunity for the world to have that rejuvenation, that relaxation, that stress relief, that recuperating experience if they choose Jamaica. And the good thing is that the Caribbean in general is perceived as a peaceful region on the planet. It has the highest. It's the number one cruise region on planet Earth. It has the bluest waters on planet Earth. And so, and the ones of us that speak English as well have another competitive advantage, because a lot of persons feel more comfortable and have more security.
And those larger source markets, also English speaking, might want to choose us here. Well, let's talk about tourism, continuing to do so after the break with you, Dr. Wallace. Stay with us, because when we come back, we want to see what else Jamaica has to offer and how else the Tourism Enhancement Fund is helping. Stay with us.
Horizon, a new loan product from Access Financial Services.
Every dream conquered is another dream gained. I land and I fly again like a jet plane. Headed straight in your direction, 'cause I'm wiser, one step closer. I'm winning 'cause I work so hard, and the music keeps on playing, and the people that say we are mash up the night.
style is no scam and style me.
From the market to the farm to the office, money talk is everywhere. But are you making sense or nonsense? The Bank of Jamaica brings you common sense with BOJ. Real stories, real laughs, and real lessons to help you protect, grow, and manage your money. Mattress savings.
At least my mattress, you charge me to sleep on it.
Partner plan.
Remember last year we needed our payouts early? But Miss
Unemployment rate has fallen to 3.3%, down from 13.2% in 2016. Our government's continued focus on job creation is delivering real results. We are building Jamaica. The time by the Office of the Prime Minister is...
Hi, I am Candy Pang.
What a guan?
What's a guan?
That's a guan.
What a guan? What a guan?
What a one! Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 8 a.m., 1:30 p.m., and 10 p.m. on CVM TV.
That's a guan. What a guan?
We're continuing our conversation with the head of the Tourism Enhancement Fund, Dr. Kerry Wallace, about tourism here in Jamaica and what it means for the lifeblood of a country. He's spoken about what it is that we have as our competitive advantage when it comes to other Caribbean destinations, why globally persons might choose Jamaica over other places, and what it means to be the destination of choice, because apparently others don't have mountains or Duns River or lakes and rivers and valleys. So we are having a conversation now about securing the tourism product, and one of the big events that just took place was Carnival in Jamaica, Carnival 2026. Dr. Kerry Wallace, I'm back with you as you talk to us about what it is that we have seen and what it is that we are doing to secure the product. If segment one was about competition, this is about consequence, a consequence of being that big destination of choice, a consequence of being the place that people come to. We have to have people who are ready and prepared to serve. And you are also having under your leadership the Jamaica Center of Tourism Innovation, a place where you're hoping to move this quality over quantity perspective, this idea of having better people prepared. Who's preparing the next generation of tourism workers?
Right. So the idea of the JCTI, the Jamaica Center of Tourism Innovation, is to ensure that we professionalize the sector. You know, we want our Jamaicans to see tourism as a very, very valuable and robust career opportunity. And so it's not just getting a job, getting a work, so to speak, in the tourism space. It's becoming professionalized, getting the appropriate international accreditations and certifications. And that's what JCTI does. It takes cohorts of tourism workers from all the resort towns and so on, and have a variety of certification programs. They partner with the American Culinary Federation, the American Hotel and Lodging Educational Institute. They partner with HART, NSTA, and NCTVET to ensure that the requisite certifications that are internationally recognized, that our members have it. They're not just a chef who can cook good for 5-10 years working inside a hotel, but they have the international accreditation that makes them qualified to work anywhere else on a ship overseas, and of course be remunerated accordingly when they have the actual certifications, rather than just having the experience but no paper, so to speak. And as we professionalize the sector and the industry, we want more and more of our Jamaicans to be the ones that are chosen to be placed in the top jobs in all the hotels across, the executive chefs, the general managers, all those positions, including IT-related positions and so on. And so we have a suite of training programs that the Jamaica Center of Tourism Innovation conducts. I just looked at last year's numbers. We certified over 3,200 workers just in 1 year under this program. And so it is, it's one thing to ensure Jamaicans are the ones in the positions, another thing for our Jamaicans themselves to be upskilled so that the quality of the experience that they deliver to our visitors and locals alike translates into Jamaica, the destination, being even more attractive and more sought after.
More attractive, more sought after, but also more secure. That's been something that the Tourism Enhancement Fund has worked on. You've historically funded CCTV and security technology in resort towns like Ocho Rios and Montego Bay. We're watching then you having to put this in place, security infrastructure. Are we seeing where Jamaica's current security infrastructure and entertainment zones is meeting the modern risk profile?
I think that overall, the direction that Jamaica is going in has been outstanding for tourism. I mean, with the crime rate being reduced 3 years in a row. Well, I think we haven't seen this year's numbers yet, but I'm assuming it's 4 years in a row. Last year alone was a 40% drop, and these are significant reductions. And what that translates into is where the experiential traveler, the one who goes out of hotels, there was protection of security inside the hotels and so on. You want them to feel just as safe inside the hotels as outside. And you want them to be confident to stay anywhere in Jamaica and travel and soak up the experience of Jamaica without fear of harm or anything. So I believe as we improve where that's concerned, become a more peaceful destination, it will really open up more and more channels, because there are aspects of tourism that are happening elsewhere that Jamaica isn't benefiting from because we had a high crime rate before. I mean, our trails and hiking tourism, our camper vanning tourism, which are huge things in some other destinations.
So camper vanning tourism, people go in buses that are retrofitted to be able to live in, have kitchens, and they drive around to various destinations. Instead of going to a hotel, they cook their own food, park, and have that sort of more organic experience?
Exactly. Instead of it being like a cruise ship that you're traveling around islands, it's mobility while you're in a country, in an island. So you're just driving up, parking up, and enjoying.
The safety concerns for that. The safety concerns for that, as you said, Jamaica becoming a safer destination makes that more and more open and available. Are ones, though, that must be on the mind of any traveler who wants to do that sort of thing, and now watching the news as well, because you are the head of a growth-focused fund. And when you see violence at the end of a major cultural event like Carnival yesterday, being the kind of narrative that comes out of us making billions of dollars and tons of tourist arrivals and repeat travelers come here, we talk about a social cost. You talk about a visibility cost. How do you explain to a tourism brand in this 24, 48-hour period what this means for the tourism product of the country?
I mean, the more we deliver on events that the patrons leave and get home safely and so on, that's the better it is for the reputation of Jamaica as a destination that persons can feel free to send their daughters, to send their children, to send, because they are guaranteed that it will be safe. And I think, it's unfortunate the incident that happened that marred that otherwise entirely safe experience during Carnival. And what I'm hoping is that it's an outlier and just a one-off, and we can quickly resume our progress where it comes on to being a very safe destination where events are executed in a way where not only is it safe from harm, but the efficiencies, the crowd control, the cleaning afterwards. I'm hoping everybody would have seen how clean
The streets were after
Kingston
Carnival, people
was this
making
morning.
comments about that as well, talking about that. But all of that seems to get overridden when you have violence or an unfortunate event like the one that we saw yesterday. Because on Sunday night at the Randy Williams Entertainment Center in St. Andrew, 3 people were shot at an event that had been called Big Wall Carnival After Party. One of them, a 39-year-old operations manager from Phoenix, Arizona. So it's the most horrific of all worlds. Something happens at this major tourist event and it's now a tourist. After that big shooting then yesterday, can you still say at the head of the Tourism Enhancement Fund that the tourism product feels secure at this moment for those looking in?
I think so. You know, again, it's an outlier. It's not the norm. And so I believe that, whereas it's very unfortunate, and I you know, I sympathize with the persons who've been hurt in this. I think, you know, our control of activities for such a big festival with thousands and thousands of persons, and overall it being a safer kind of experience and a more organized experience. I believe that it's just unfortunate that this one-off would have had a blotch on it, but I'm confident that the momentum is still in the direction of it becoming more and more safe, more and more secure, and the focus being on having a memorable experience while you're here. I believe we're adding so many components to the mix. I mean, I saw the bands yesterday having, you know, outstanding top performers, you know, the Ding Dong, the Shenxias, Machel Montano and so on. And, you know, so it's bringing up the quality and the standard of the experience to even new heights. And I think the momentum is in that direction of achieving that goal of making our carnival in Jamaica the best in the world. And I believe with all the attributes we have going for us in this country, the variety of benefits, all the gems that we have surrounding us, you know, the Booby Key, Maiden Key experience, the Blue Mountain experience, or gastronomy, or coffee, or food, or jerk chicken, or beers, or rum.
A rounded out experiences then what we have to be able to provide for people as they come and they look at the Jamaican product. For you though, you said that this could be the best carnival in the world. There are some who are saying a lack of an organic Jamaican component to a carnival like this means that it looks like we're replicating something else rather than having an organic component that draws people specifically to this carnival. The dancehall component has been something that has been very Jamaican, but there's been a call for something like John Kuno or some cultural aspects of Jamaica then incorporated into this festival, preserving Jamaican culture, but also making this a unique draw for tourists. Is that something that TEF has looked at as well?
Certainly. I mean, when you think about it, we have so many, I don't want to use the word ammunition but so many other...
Ammunition at a time like this might not be the best word indeed, exactly. Dr. Wallace.
But we have so much more that we can then offer to visitors to add to our carnival experience that we provide. And yes, we didn't originate with carnival, but doesn't mean we can't take it to higher levels and tweak it to where it's actually an even better experience than that one can have when they choose carnival in Jamaica. I believe that John Canoe, you know, there are so many other things that we could add to the mix. And,
yes.
And
so to better round out the experience, but you think that where we are right now is enough for someone to say that we're certainly getting into the direction of having one of the best on the planet. Well, Dr. Wallace, I am making sure that I record this bit of the interviews, that when we bring you back and anybody challenges you, I can say that Dr. Kerry Wallace, Executive Director of the Tourism Enhancement Fund, said that we're absolutely best placed. Thanks so much for joining us and staying with us through both segments here inside Lead Story. All right, when we come back, a very different kind of security question. Can we secure visitors? Yes. Can we secure our children? Perhaps. That's the next discussion here inside Lead Story.
Drop the dance. Oh, what a feeling. Don't stop dreaming. Keep on believing in the power of the feeling. Whatever you want, take a chance. Song in your heart, step in your dance. You got a spark, don't put it dark. Shine your lights up.
Jamaica. Make we do the right thing. Make we live good today for a better tomorrow. Talk it out. Don't fight it out. The time by the Ministry of National Security is
6:30.
Hi, I am Candy Pang.
What a guan?
What's a guan?
That's a guan pa.
What a guan.
What a One. Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 8 a.m., 1:30 p.m., and 10 p.m. on CVM TV.
That's a guan pa. What a guan.
Welcome back. Tonight, a question that should not need to be asked. Can school be both a place of learning and a shelter without compromising child safety? Right now, 8 schools are still being used as shelters, housing just over 80 people, with a government deadline of May 8 to move them out. But that deadline comes after serious allegations raised by Mark Malava, president of the Jamaica Teachers Association, that children were being exposed to sexual activity by adults in these spaces. The government has called for evidence. The Jamaica Teachers Association has welcomed the decision to move people out. And tonight, the question is not just what happened, but what this says about how we protect children. Joining me now is the Executive Director of the Jamaica Youth Advocacy Network, Shanique Bowden. Thanks so much for joining us, Shanique.
Hi, thank you for having me. Good evening, everyone.
As Executive Director of an organization that has now watched this back and forth, you are the Jamaica Youth Advocacy Network, and you're seeing this huge discussion about schools being used as shelters and the exposure of children. What's the first right that comes to your mind that must be protected in this very difficult circumstance of a major Category 5 hurricane that has now destroyed homes on the western part of the island, leaving people displaced? The importance of education and having those children back in school, or child safety and making sure that no matter what's going on, children at the center of this are protected.
Yes, so definitely immediately what we're thinking about regarding this situation is ensuring that our children are protected while they're in the school environment. The reality is that we know our children spend a lot of time at school, at a minimum 8 hours a day, sometimes even more, and the school is intended to be a regulated environment. At JAN, we're not, of course, ignorant to the fact that we were victims of a major hurricane, which has left many persons displaced. And so we understand that, the schools were being used as shelters and many persons may not have anywhere else to go. But there is a balancing of rights that needs to happen. The children need to be protected in schools, as well as ensuring that that space is a space that they can be protected in. And so with everything that's happening right now, with the allegations coming out, it calls into question just how safe the schools are while they're still being used as hurricane shelters.
There is a big dispute, though, as to what information was shared with whom and how it had been managed. The Ministry of Education says it received no formal report from President of the Jamaica Teachers Association, Mark Malava. He told the JTA's annual education conference in Hanover that his association had received reports of shelterees engaging in sexual acts in full view of the students. But Education Minister Dr. Dana Morris-Dixon says the specific allegation of sexual activity was never raised with her prior to the public statement. Local Government Minister Desmond McKenzie has called for evidence to be furnished to the police. But with only 81 people left across 8 sites, was action about moving them out so far into the school year taken too late?
So I think there are two things right there. We are also very much concerned and just baffled by the back and forth that's happening regarding who was told what and when and what information was presented. And that remains, I think, the crux of the matter. It cannot be that, we are holding things in confidence when it comes to the safety of our children. And that's our major contention with what we're seeing happening in the media where the JTA president is concerned. He's saying that he has communicated to the relevant persons, but it's very unclear what exactly is being communicated and to whom. But I think even to the second point of what you were saying, it's, I think, calls to the very reactive nature of how we are as a society is quite unfortunate. But the reality is, by virtue of having the children in the school and having the shelteries also in the school, we're personally open at JN that, there aren't really any egregious things happening and we can resolve these allegations as quickly as possible and get the necessary information out and resolve as much as possible. But the reality is that based on just the nature of the situation, it gives rise to the vulnerability of children in this environment. And so any number of things can happen, even if it's not sexual misconduct, but just being exposed to drugs, being exposed to just violence and those sort of stuff, because it now becomes an unregulated environment. And so while we understand that, things would have taken a bit more time because of the impacts of the hurricane, there is also a sort of dragging of feet that has happened. And now that we are seeing, they're looking to have them out by May 8th because of these allegations that are coming out, it shouldn't have gotten to this point before make sure that we're putting in place a system where we can get the shelteries the help that they need and getting them somewhere else outside of the school, while also now maintaining the school environment solely for the children and their education.
Solely for the children and their education is important, but we're looking at a context in which we have these allegations. Once these allegations were raised, Shanique Bowden, what level of investigation should have been triggered? Because with the back and forth that's going on, there are some who argue something had been said. Go look for it and look into it. What level of investigation does JN believe should have happened, and when do you believe it should have happened? Because an investigation is ongoing right now. No determination has just been made, but it seems to be making people uncomfortable that we're having this back and forth in the public domain without us being able to say once it had been heard, something had been done.
And so I think that's the primary question that we also have. When was the first time that this was heard? I think for us, the persons, in the public and just watching this back and forth, we learned of it last week, Tuesday, when the news came out post JTA conference that this, the president would have gone up to say, these are some concerns that they're having. He alleges that he had told the minister about this prior. We can't really be sure. It's become this old he said, she said, and who said what. But I think what we were pleased to see is that once the ministry became aware of these allegations, if at a point when they did become aware was last week, Tuesday, I believe the minister had said that she had asked for an investigation to go through.
But if what Mark Malava says is accurate, Shanique Bowden, that he had informed the ministry or the minister in prior conversations, does that change your perspective of things?
My perspective and the organization's perspective is simply this, that the investigation should have been launched at the earliest opportunity when the relevant authorities, in this case the Ministry of Education, became aware. But even beyond that, if the JTA president is alleging that I told the ministry from XYZ and nothing became of it at that point, then that becomes a problem. Secondary to that, there's also the avenue of reporting the matters directly to the police. Given the nature of the allegations, they could rise to criminal offenses in terms of indecent exposure and those sort of issues, which would be a matter for the police to also attend to. But generally, the consensus or our position is that it should have begun investigation at the earliest opportunity of when we understand the allegations were made regarding the misconduct.
You spoke about the May 8th deadline there. We've been told by local government Minister Desmond McKenzie that May 8th represents the time we're expecting the shelteries now to be moved out of schools. The JTA has been maintaining since around the start of this semester that with the tents and with the cramping in schools because of the accommodations that have to be made for both shelteries and those in the schools. That shelteries should have been moved from earlier. But with all that you see right now, is the May 8th deadline a responsive governance or delayed action, especially in the context of you saying you're disappointed to have seen that it required this very public bust-up in order for us to get this now new hard deadline?
I mean, I think the situation has already gone quite bad. In an ideal world, and I recognize that we don't live in an ideal world, but in an ideal world, it should not be a case where April 13th, there are schools, 8 schools still being used as shelters. But the situation that we have right now is that it exists, and we're working towards the May 8th deadline. I think what this really does call for, though, is just a more strengthened approach to our disaster management. We live in the Caribbean. We are exposed to the elements all year, and we are also, approaching a hurricane season in a few weeks. And so I think it's very important for us to think about what we've learned from Melissa, how Melissa has impacted not only the country, but our education system, how we're still looking to recover from that. And so that if we find ourselves in an unfortunate situation, again, during the next hurricane season, having to deal with, these sort of situations, that we are better prepared to address them from the onset. If, God forbid, we have another hurricane this year, and we find ourselves having to, pause school because the schools are being used as shelter, I'm hopeful that our government is putting in place the relevant systems so that we can recover much quickly in that regard.
I think that's so important for persons to think of as well. We're getting to the start of the Atlantic hurricane season once again, and we might have different kinds of concerns, but still concerns about our disaster response model. For you, though, at JN, what is the single most urgent action you think the government could take in the next 48 to 72 hours that could really then discharge their legal and moral obligation to these children, those children who are at schools, but also those children who live in shelters still?
Yes. That's a very targeted question. I think within the particular context of what we're dealing with right now, we would like to see some more regular updates in terms of the investigations that are happening, and just in terms of the avenue that the ministry is taking in a more targeted way to ensure that they are getting to the bottom of this.
Which ministry? The local government ministry or the education ministry?
Education ministry, as it relates to our children who are in the schools and who may have allegedly been victims of, this indecent exposure. To ensure that they're reassuring the public that, this is something that they're looking into and it is top of mind, and that they're going to get to the bottom of it and deal with the matter in the quickest way possible. But I think beyond that, as we also are approaching exam season, external exams are going to start in like a matter of 2 weeks and those sort of stuff. I think it's really important that we expedite and ensure that we maintain this May 8th deadline so that our schools can get back to normal. There are students who are going to be preparing for their external exams and also internal exams, which are a big deal as well. And we don't want our kids in tent any longer than they should. We don't want them in auditoriums any longer than they should.
And knowing then that these things... And knowing then that these things were always coming up, we always had those dates, keeping May 8 as a hard deadline. Executive Director of the Jamaica Youth Advocacy Network, Jayan Shanique Bowden, thank you so much for joining us and for your advocacy on this issue. When we come back, success on the field, silence in the stands. Our women are trying to go to their third back-to-back World Cup, and we weren't there. Why? We'll talk about that next.
Let's delve deep into the issues. We'll take you beneath the surface.
Greetings and salutations. My name is Orville Higgins, and it's another edition of Fan Central.
Talking to the people at the heart of the top sporting stories. Hear from your favorite sportsmen and women and the administrators who work tirelessly to make it all happen. It's live sports talk.
I've written an entire article.
Yes.
Looking at all the major issues every Tuesday at 9 p.m. It's Fan Central.
Every dream conquered is another dream gained. I land and I fly again like a jet plane. Headed straight in your direction. 'Cause I'm wiser, one step closer. I'm winning 'cause I work so hard. And the music keeps on playing, and the people them I say we are march up the dance. Oh, what a feeling! Don't stop dreaming. Keep on believing in the power of the feeling. Whatever you want, take a chance. Song in your heart, step in your dance. You got a spark, don't put it down. Shine your lights
Thanks so much for staying with us. The Reggae Girls won again, 4-0. Khadijah Shaw with a hat trick. A team ranked 39th in the world. That's our Reggae Girls, a team that has already proven itself on the global stage. And yet, look at that background. Where are the people? An underwhelming crowd. Tonight, we look at what that says about us. Joining me now is sports journalist Trishana McGowan to look at this issue. Trishana, thanks so much for joining us inside Lead Story.
Thank you so much for having me, and a pleasant good evening to the viewers.
Trishana, why does a team that keeps delivering results still struggle for support while we just saw an incredibly packed stadium for men who have not been able to get back to the World Cup since 1998? What does it say about who we support and what the support means to those who are representing the country?
I think first I can say, as the press officer for the Reggae Girls, it's disappointing. And whether or not I was a press officer working alongside the girls, it would have been disappointing to see, but also not surprising. You find that globally, the women's sports do struggle to have the support, the similar payment to that of the men. And it's worldwide. You see it even in the WNBA versus the NBA. You know, women wanting to get into NFL, but having to play flag football. Golfers, tennis players. And the story goes on, and we are not unique to the situation, but again, very unfortunate. You know, people keep saying, oh, they were unaware that the women were playing, enough promotion wasn't done. Mind you, I can't say to someone that the poster is there and they maybe saw it or overlooked it. No, if they felt like it wasn't promoted or they didn't see enough of it, we definitely something I'm sure JFF and their marketing team will take into consideration. But again, I feel as if, how do I word it? I think people have just not fully warmed up to women's football in Jamaica. And that's not just about those who turn out in numbers to support, but also corporate Jamaica as well.
And that's a big heavy hitter there because it's the support and funding that allows for our teams to then go abroad and wear national colors representing us with pride. But let me put in context for Jamaicans who didn't watch on Friday what exactly happened, because on Friday night at the National Stadium, Jamaica defeated Antigua and Barbuda 4-0 in a CONCACAF qualifier. Captain Khadijah Shaw scored in the 45th, 49th and 55th minutes in that match, a hat-trick that took her career all-time tally to 65 goals in 47 appearances for Jamaica. That is an all-time record. for this country. Denisha Blackwood added a penalty in added time. Jamaica fired 36 shots on goal. Antigua and Barbuda fired 0. Do Jamaicans understand how big a deal they have in the Reggae Girls, Trishana? Do they understand what it means for this tiny nation to be ranked 39th in the world?
I think for those who are lovers of the sports like you and I, we know that's a huge achievement, accomplishment for the team, especially being as the English-speaking Caribbean country in comparison to all the other countries. But I believe that because of Bunny Shaw, the captain, her track record, especially now playing for Manchester City, and how great she's doing, the leading goal scorer, I mean, it doesn't get bigger than that. You find now that following the match against Antigua and Barbuda, you're now hearing people saying, oh, we definitely need to turn out. And again, for those who said they were unaware, they are looking to make their way once it's feasible for them this Saturday. But I say this, Jody, again, for you and I, and for those who love sports, this conversation is not for us. And I hope for those who are listening understand that our athletes worldwide, those who train locally, they punch above the weight of what we are able to provide resource-wise. These players are already not highly compensated. I mean, when you're playing for your national team, nobody's expecting you to be earning $1 million, right? But the pride in which
Why not, Trishana? Why not? Because there have been discussions about even earning potential and the disparity, with some saying that men's sports attract more fans and therefore it justifies why men are going to be paid higher. They have a greater audience, that women are not yet able to capture that bigger audience. So much so, in fact, that on Friday before kickoff, the head coach stood in the press conference and said to Jamaicans, I'm imploring people to come to the match. The grandstand was free of charge. People still didn't go, Trishana. Even if we're having this conversation about expectations of pay, is it just the payment that they need to see that Jamaicans are physically behind them as they put their effort out for the country?
No, you know what? They really just want people to turn out, right? These women, a lot of them play at the highest level, whether playing in the US or even university colleges, as well as captains for England team, leading goal scorer in the England League, in the EPL, in the Women's League. So for me, like I said, these women and a lot of our female athletes, they really just want the support in terms of people just coming out and supporting. Shelley and Fraser Price, Sherika Jackson, Elaine Thompson, Era, three of our best female sprinters of all time as a country. They're competing against each other at our national championships. Jody, you see the stadium. Is it packed?
Well, the stadium holds 35,000 people. I don't think you have 3,500 people in the stadium when you're seeing this sort of world-class athletics being shown here on the track here in Jamaica. On Friday, the grandstand was free. People didn't show up. But let me ask you about a bigger question here, Trishana, because we, Jamaica, have put ourselves as part of a joint bid with the United States, Mexico, and Costa Rica to host the 2031 FIFA Women's World Cup. If Jamaica can't fill the national stadium for a free game that they told everybody to come to, how credible is that bid?
I think it's credible because the beauty of it is, remember that sports do attract fans. It's similar to like the carnival we had yesterday. It's not just about our Jamaicans, it's not about our local people or our Jamaicans who are coming into the country. With something like the World Cup, we find now I'm looking at which match I want to see, maybe in Miami or in New York. So a lot of it, yes, it's good that you will have your own support, but it's also something that to be factored in, that you'll have traveling fans as well. And people will travel with their various countries to give support. So it won't be, again, for the Women's World Cup, anywhere it is held, they know the challenges they will face in terms of, filling the stands. And, again, we're not unique to it, but very disappointed that this is where we are still after our women have qualified for 2 World Cups.
All right.
But consecutively, let me say that, and you're on the hunt for 3, yes.
We
and
made
you're on
it.
the hunt for 3rd qualification.
There you go. Trishana, next match is the 18th. That's this Friday. The Reggae Girls face Guyana. What do we need to do to have the National Stadium look like a place that now has our girls going to their 3rd World Cup? And I'm going to be churlish here when I say when our men couldn't make it to their 2nd after we gave them all that support. They now are the top of their own table, likely to make it to this 3rd World Cup. What do we need to see to make the girls have the atmosphere they deserve?
I think everyone who is aware about the matches, we need to keep spreading the word. It's also our job to spread the word about the sport, just like we do with the men's football, because that do happen. Your Reggae boys are playing a Wagga Stadium. It's the same thing that apply. Bring a friend, tell a friend about it. If they can't make it, tell them, say, yo, tell that person there, because everybody might know someone that loves football. And I mean, what better quality football than you want to come and see the girls play high quality football? We have a goal scorer that she's so clinical. The
single best footballer Jamaica has ever produced. I look forward to anybody challenging me on that.
And they won't.
No, they can't find the stats to be able to justify that she is not the best, but it's certainly something that we want to see Jamaicans going out and supporting on Friday as our Reggae Girls play Guyana. Trishana McGowan, sports journalist. Thanks so much for joining us and talking to us about this evening.
Thanks for always having me. Have a good evening.
Have a good evening yourself. All right, we're going to close off now today because we've spent the last hour talking about security, not just as a slogan, but as a system. In tourism, we're asking whether we can protect a $4 billion industry from competition and from risk. In education, we were asking whether we can protect children in spaces that were never designed to hold them this long inside shelter-specific conditions. And in sport, we're asking whether we can protect and invest in excellence when we see it. The contrast is sharp. We can mobilize quickly to protect economic value, but we are much, much slower when the value is human. The government may set May 8th the deadline to move people out of schools. That's good. The question is not whether the deadline will be met,